You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me is Jose Montaro and Matt Gannon. Guys, we have an action-packed episode today. We're going to be talking about injury updates, some teasers for some new merch coming out for the Lightning, recapping the games, looking at the 3 stars, the mid-season report as we're about halfway through the season. It's going to be a ton of fun. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on episodes just like this one. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing today?
I can't believe we're already halfway through the season. It's feels like just a couple days ago that we were looking forward to the season starting, and now we actually have something tangible that we can report on.
It is actually crazy. The season is flying by, for better or for worse. I'm still trying to figure that out, as we all are. But it was a pretty good week on my end, but a little rough week. But we do have a lot to talk about this episode. I'm actually pretty excited for this episode maybe for the wrong reasons.
Well, let's jump right into it. I think we should start off with some of the more fun news that we got today, or not even really news, it's just kind of a teaser. But if you didn't see on the Lightning Instagram page, they also posted it. They actually just retweeted it on Twitter because the Tampa Bay Sports Store is the one that posted it on Twitter specifically. But the Lightning have been dropping a teaser for new merch or new jerseys. We don't know exactly what it is, but basically the Lightning posted a graphic with a date on it that was January 9th, and it was in the theme of pirate merch and the Lightning and the font that they've always used for the Gasparilla merch. The Gasparilla logos that they've used in the past are also on that image. And again, you can see that on Twitter if you go over there to the Lightning's Twitter page or Instagram page. And the biggest part of it, though, is it also had a teal background, which, if you guys remember, the Lightning had released a billboard a while back with a black background and then the Lightning logo, but the Lightning logo was in this teal blue color. So there's a lot of speculation going on right now because, of course, the NHL is not doing those warm-up style jerseys this year. And so it has a lot of people thinking, well, if they got the teal color in there and they can't do warm-up jerseys, could this be a third jersey teaser, a Gatsby third jersey, or is it just new? There's so much to talk about, but it's exciting. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this teaser that we saw on Instagram?
So the billboard was on Howard Avenue, right near where Mick Ditton's is, and going to a game. Went to that New Year's Eve game. If you go into the store that's inside of Amalie, they actually do have a couple of hats already. One completely teal hat that is, it's drastically different from the Lightning blue that we have. There's a teal hat that's a flat bill, and then there's a second teal hat that's in the store that has more of like a tiger stripe pattern into it. So, there's already some things that are coming out with those colors, and the contrast with the teal and the black looks pretty good.
The release date is for tomorrow, I guess today when the show comes out. So I'm really excited. I hope they are a third jersey. I hope they're Gasparilla themed. How good was the first Gasparilla jersey? Or did they do 2 iterations of them? But they were both just beautiful. It was a shame that they never got to wear them. I do think that these are going to be actual on-ice jerseys, hopefully for, the maximum amount of time. Hopefully they're good first and foremost, but you guys remember the Disrupt the Night jerseys a couple of years ago. They released those jerseys halfway through the season that 2019 year. They released it in February. So they kind of, I guess they do have a bit of a habit of entry into the season. I'm really excited. I could totally go for a new jersey sometime soon, especially if it's Gasparilla themed. I'm a big fan of the teal. I know you're kind of iffy about it, Jake, but I think it could look good. I think Eureka was saying that it would pop on that black theme that we're all kind of speculating about. It would look very, electrified. It would look like a Mountain Dew Voltage Blue, I guess. I think it would look really, really cool. Hopefully, the final product does look as good as I'm thinking it's going to be.
I mean, they are due for some thirds.
Well, and for those that don't know, the NHL has a rule that you can only use your alternate jerseys for X amount. I think it's 3 years. Don't quote me on that, but the Lightning hit that mark with those Disrupt the Night jerseys where they are supposed to come out with new ones. So they're absolutely due. Matt, I kind of like the teal that I've been seeing. I was a little worried they were going to look like the Stars neon jerseys, which I'm not a fan of. But if they're not that, what I've been seeing, I think could be really cool. And the Gasparilla, we've all loved the Gasparilla jerseys, every iteration they did. And again, the big reason that this is so interesting to everybody is because they've done Gasparilla warm-up jerseys, but they can't do that this year. So, I mean, it could just be merch that comes out, which would still be awesome, I think, and especially in a teal color. But we'll have to, unfortunately, wait for tomorrow as of this recording or today while you're listening to this on January 9th to find out officially what it is. But some exciting things that I wanted to get out there and talk about as well. So now, on the news side of things, we do have a couple injury updates that I do want to run through because the Lightning, they've been going through it lately, guys. It's been a very interesting season, which we're going to get into in our kind of our mid-season recap so far. But Eric Chernak is close to return. The Lightning are hoping he's going to be able to play against the Los Angeles Kings, but still not 100% yet. Sergachev does not have a set date to return. It sounds like that injury got a lot worse than it ever was supposed to be. I don't know what happened. He's on long-term injured reserve now, though, and Cooper never would confirm a date. He was asked by reporters he could come back January 13th, which is as soon as he can come back from long-term injured reserve. But Cooper would not put a date on. So Sergachev seems like he's still kind of far away. And then Tanner Jeannot is also now week to week is the way Cooper described it. So the Lightning are banged up right now. There's no question about it. And they've had to use a lot of new guys. And it's going to be a different look for the Lightning for a little while, which makes it already tough when they've lost a lot of guys in the last couple of years because of the cap crunch that they've been in. So things, unfortunately, not really getting easier for this team. Guys, do the long-term injuries concern you any more than you already were with what they were dealing with?
I mean, there's already so much that the team is having to go through. The biggest one I think really is Sergachev being down. It seems like Chernak gets his bumps, bruises, and scratches that cost him games every single season. I don't have a quick way of pulling it up, but I will pull up his stats here just to see if he's ever really completed a full season. That's one of the things that you kind of expect for some guys, but having so many out at once that we're pulling up people from the minors is that's a tough thing to overcome.
And we've been the first quarter of the year, I'd say we've been pretty lucky with injuries, and I was kind of looking for reasons why we were, I guess, not the word I'm looking for, but just kind of middling around. We weren't playing to our best abilities, and there were a number of factors. Injuries weren't one of them. There were minor injuries. Connor Sherry was out for a bit. Couple other just small, bottom six guys that were out just for a week or two at most. And now these last couple of weeks, man, when it rains, it pours. I mean, these are key guys that are going down. Two of our best defensemen, Sergachev and Chernak. I mean, we're having to call up guys I've never heard of. If you asked me who Declan Carlisle was a week ago, I would have told you he's an accountant in Cincinnati or something. I have no idea. I mean, we are really reaching, and I'm really hoping that, one of these guys can. It definitely is concerning. I think, some of the rookies that we did call up did play pretty well, and I think we'll probably expand on that a little bit later into the show. But yeah, these injuries starting to mount up, and probably guys that have played, all year, or even guys like Vazzy coming back, rehabbing an injury, or off of surgery. That's also a big factor too. So there is a lot that. I'm not ready to hit the panic button, but it is that.
You there, Matt?
Yeah. Did I cut out?
We lost you for a second. I think you're back, but you're absolutely right. There's a a lot going on right now with the injury bug. Joe, you were asking about Chernak's stats. He has never played a full 82 game season. Now that I'm looking at it right now,
I got pulled up, and the most successful season that he played was actually last year, where he lost 12 games. I guess that's not completely true. In the shortened season, he only missed 10 in the shortened season. So yeah,
But-
he's often banged up, and it's you think with someone that's as hard nosed as he is, he'd be playing a little bit more, and he just gets kind of injured easily.
Well, let's get into these game recaps and take a look at how the Lightning have been doing and dealing with some of these injuries and how this week has been going. Guys, we talked about the big game was going to be the Boston Bruins game, which is the last one they played. But first, they took on the Winnipeg Jets, who are a very good team in the NHL. And this is a game that got off to a great start for the Lightning. They were up 1-0 at the end of the first period. Then the second period happened again, and the Lightning go down in this one, the third period. They can never get back into it, and they lose this one by a final score of 4-2. But I think a theme for this week, and I'm probably going to say a couple of times, I feel like the final score is not fully indicative of how they actually played throughout this game. I don't know about you. I thought they played all right. I don't think they were terrible, but they could not get anything going, and a lot of credit, I think, goes to the Winnipeg netminder, whose name is slipping my mind right now, but played Hellebuck. Yes, thank you. But I thought he played really great in this game. Matt, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on this game against Winnipeg?
Well, you called Winnipeg a very good team, and they are actually the best team in the league right now. They're leading the NHL in the standings right now, and for good reason. I was kind of hemming and hawing a little bit about Winnipeg early this season. I thought they'd be kind of in the same position the Lightning would be, pretty good, pretty bad, inconsistent here and there. No, they're a really good team, and I like Winnipeg, so I'll give them some credit here. They really did kind of have their way with us, but they're a really good team, and they took control of that game rather quickly. It sucks that the Lightning go up first in another game and end up losing. But yeah, Connor Hellebuck, he was really fantastic. The Winnipeg defense is played really, really good. And they're missing some key guys too. They're missing, the guy that was tied for the league lead in goals, Kyle Connor, before he got injured. And they're just finding a way to do it, winning games by committee. I mean, they're deep all the way down all of their lines with a great goaltender and a great head coach and great assistant coaches too. It's a uphill battle beating this team. Looking back on it a few months ago, we took them to overtime. That was kind of a blessing right there. Just nice enough to be in that situation. This was just a game where I guess you can call it a scheduled loss. It's a tough road trip going from Winnipeg to Minnesota to Boston. I know it was the first game of that road trip, but still. It is always tough to beat a powerhouse team that is rolling. I mean, they just don't allow goals. They've won 30 games now with allowing 3 goals or less, something like that. So it's just defense by committee, great goaltending, great forwards. I mean, they're getting it done. So I know this was me kind of talking about Winnipeg more than the Lightning. I actually probably didn't talk about the Lightning at all. How good of a team the Lightning were going up against, and probably why they had such a hard time in this game.
Well, I mean, Hellebuck is hell of a goalie, and he's getting paid for it, and it's showing in his stats as well. He's second for goals against average in the league. His save percentage is top 5. The team defensively overall is actually allowed the second fewest goals in the league, so they're very, very stingy. The fact that the Bolts got 2 on them is about what you would expect them to be able to do. So you need to tighten things up defensively to allow that 2 goals to give you a lead. And honestly, defense isn't where the strong suit's been for the Lightning, as we all know. Continuing to look at numbers here. Winnipeg had 23 block shots, and the Lightning still were able to put 34 on net. Shows you that we did have quite a bit of offensive zone time, and we're getting some opportunities, some looks. They really did, I thought, outplay for the majority of the game the Winnipeg Jets. They just weren't able to capitalize on their chances quite like the Jets did. There was a couple of really bad plays that I thought, kind of cost the Bolts, and again, kind of system related, especially. I think it was the second goal that Iafallo scored. He came off the boards and was shoulder and shoulder with Dahan. Dahan went to his spot on the side of the net to get back towards the slot. Iafallo went just a little bit higher and into a soft area and ended up getting a rebound puck and shot it right into the net where, Dahan was, 7 feet from him, maybe? And instead of being man on man in that scenario, he went to his appropriate spot, and it just was a gap in coverage once again. And it kind of seems like that, is the almost like an ongoing theme with quite a bit of the team. And Vasi wasn't as sharp as he definitely could have been. He didn't help steal a game. The Bolts were getting some solid pressure going, and then kind of a bad turnover when he shoots the puck right into his old buddy Nemesnikov, and he doesn't bail the team out by making the subsequent save that beats him 5-hole. So the Jets were really good at seizing opportunities and capitalizing on the ones that they had, and the Lightning just they just didn't get it done.
And that Vasi turnover was kind of the dagger in that game, because the Lightning, again, they were starting to push back. They were only down, I believe, by 1 goal. Was it correct? And they mean
Yep.
or 2 goals. I can't remember what it was.
They're only down by 1 at that point.
1 goal, and then that turnover happens, and it is just a brutal way to take that loss. But I 100% agree with you, Joe. I didn't think they played terrible, but Jets capitalized, and sometimes that's what it takes. And good teams capitalize on their opportunities, and it's exactly what the Jets did. So the Lightning, unfortunately, start off this road trip with a loss, and then you go into Minnesota, which on paper is the easiest game, but as we have noted, the Lightning have not played well at the XL Energy Center. In fact, before that game, they only had their last win was in 2011. They only won in that building twice in the entire time that they've played there. 2-12-2, I think, was the record. Crazy stats, not fantastic for the Bolts, but they get the job done in a great game for the Lightning. 4-1 is the final score. And I think the big news out of this one was 2 defensemen. One, Darren Radish, Matt's favorite player, who scored 2 huge, fantastic goals, fun goals as well. Matt's shaking his head at me. And then Declan Carlisle, who also, I thought, played a very nice game. Joe, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on this game in Minnesota and the Lightning pick up their first win since 2011 there.
Well, I'm going to start with actually Matt's truly favorite defenseman, and something that always seems to happen. Former Bolts scoring on our goalies. Zach Bogosian got a goal on Vasilevsky to break his shutout bid with about 4.5 minutes left in the game. He's a great guy, though. He's a great guy. The Lightning still able to pull it out. Radish was very surprising. He's just a force to be reckoned with in that game, and it was fun to see. It didn't really start out, I thought, with the Lightning having as much pressure or as much success with their game when the game first started. Vasi had to make a ton of saves, especially right on the doorstep. There is one like a shot pass tip right in the top of the crease that he came up huge to keep the game even at 0. But that gave the Lightning the boost that they needed to come into the second and allow Darren Radish to finally, do his thing, get his first 2 goals of the season. And, that would be the game-winning goal as well, the second Radish goal.
There was another former Bolt that made an impact in the game, too. Patty Maroon and Austin Watson got into a quick little tilly. Wasn't the greatest fight. I always love seeing Patty, especially when he's out there doing his job. And he's actually having
rabbit punches.
yeah, his hugs. It was exactly the Pat Maroon I remember, the type of fighting, air quotes. But yeah, I saw something funny. It's like the Lightning have more Stanley Cup final appearances than wins in Minnesota, which is just kind of a crazy stat right there. 4-3. I think this is our third one. No, this was a good game, good solid game by everybody. Vasilevsky really had a good game in this one. Of course, the score reflects that, but I think the eye test also does reflect that. I mean, it's impossible to stop a Zach Bogosian shot anyway. Like, there's just nothing you can do about that. Of course, not on the team, but just a much better performance, especially considering the odds being stacked against us. I think everybody, maybe not everybody, but we're all kind of with that record, only winning 2 games to that point in Minnesota, I think everybody was kind of betting against us, but it turned into a pretty dominant game in that second period. That was one of the best second periods I think the Lightning have had in quite some time, and they've been fixing their second periods for the most part. But no, the Lightning really did take over in that game. Minnesota had its pushes, but for the most part, we were kind of running the show there. Credit to Darren Radish. He had a really good goal. He was actually really, really nice. So I guess this game was just kind of the defenseman game because Victor Hedman, he scored a beautiful one-timer from the point. That one was not going to be denied. This really was the game of defensemen, and the Lightning came out on top somehow.
John Cooper made the joke in his post-game press conference that Declan Carlisle, Cooper's been doing this for a long time. He now has 499 wins after this win in Minnesota. And he joked that Declan Carlisle has the same amount of wins as him in this building.
He was a plus one in it.
He played very, very well. A lot of the times we say for defensemen, if they're not noticeable, that actually means they played well because they were responsible. But he even had some opportunities in this team, pushing the puck in the offensive zone. So I really liked his play, and a lot of people really liked his play, which is why it came as a surprise to some that he got sent down for that next game against Boston. But I think a large part of that is the Lightning are really just trying to get a look at all of their young defensemen right now and saying, all right, what do we got? Because they could be loading up for something in the future here, which we'll get to more talking about the midseason recap. But I think that's partly why. But Declan Carlisle definitely made an impression on the fan base, on the coaches, on everybody. I thought he played well.
Yeah, he made a really good defensive play at one point too, and then he jumped in on the rush a couple of times, and I think I even commented in our group that it really looked like the defensive play that he had made helped him gain some confidence because he started taking some chances on the rush and felt a lot more comfortable. I think that was in the second period when he was starting to jump up in the play, because it's a lot when you take that rookie lap. You're the only one on the ice to start warm-ups, and you realize that you're in the show, and it takes a little bit for those nerves to settle down. He handled it well.
There was one specific play. I think he lost his stick or broke his stick somehow, and he was getting beat on the inside. I think it was turning into a breakaway, or at the very least an odd man rush, and he was the last guy back. And for not having a stick, it's really hard to defend guys, and he just gave whoever, I think it was Matt Bold, he gave him a good shove down and saved that play right there, because that was pretty much a guaranteed goal if Carlisle did not recover. So I think everybody, even Michael, is pretty satisfied with how Carlisle played, especially after Michael sent his stat card too.
Yeah, impressive stuff from Declan Carlisle, and hopefully we'll get to see him again soon. And I would be surprised if we don't, especially with the injuries the Lightning are dealing with right now on that defensive side of things as well. The Lightning got a big win in Minnesota, as we've talked about here. And then next it was on to the big game that we kind of marked last week on our show, the big bad Boston Bruins trying to take out one of the top teams in the division, the Boston Bruins, who everybody thought were going to fall off, but they certainly have not whatsoever. And they've been a great team this year in the NHL. And the Lightning came into this one feeling good, and it got off to another good start with Braden Point scoring just 21 seconds in. He took his number very literal in this game. But then this was a tough one, guys. A rough game for the Lightning. They lose 7-3 is the final. But again, I said it was the theme of the show. I don't feel like that final score tells the whole story. I think the big reason, I know you guys are getting into this too, Vasilevsky definitely did not have his best game. There were a couple times where thought he should have stopped some of those pucks. And even on a couple of the goals, like one of the last ones when Victor Hedman was sitting there with an empty net and his stick snapped in half, and then Boston got an easy walk right down the middle to put that puck in the net. So lots of unfortunate breaks, some terrible calls as well, which I'm not even going to get into right now. But just an unfortunate, rough, bad game for the Lightning. Joe, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on this one in Boston?
This was the third game in a row that the Lightning got off to a good start, scoring first. That's huge for momentum, but something that the Lightning haven't been able to really capitalize on is that shift in momentum and being able to hold on to the energy. And it's a theme that has continued throughout the entire season, where if they make a push, they're not able to either capitalize it or keep the momentum going. I think back to the games where they were dominating Toronto, and they allowed Toronto to get back into the games to push overtime when they'd be up 3 goals on them. And this kind of, just reminds me of that in a sense, because this is a big game against a big team, and you get that start, and it wasn't something that they could sustain for very long. 21 seconds in for point. The next goal for the Bruins comes just about 4.5 minutes later, and from there, they just wouldn't be able to recover. Kucherov was absolutely on fire in this game, which, we can talk forever about Kucherov, but, he was doing a lot to play well. But I think, once again, kind of like in the game against the Jets, Vasi needed to make 1 or 2 more saves than he did. And I'm not blaming him for some of the ones that went in, but I sent like a screenshot in our chat, and you can see the Geeky goal where the Lightning were starting to kind of press back. Geeky gets a chance early in the third, and that kind of buried the Lightning at that point. Vasi was off his angle. It was a savable shot, I thought, and that was just the rest of the night. That was it.
Yeah, Joe, you kind of stole everything I said talking about the momentum, but that's exactly what it was. This game was a game of failed capitalization on momentum. I mean, what am I going to say that you already didn't say? Getting that opening goal in TD Garden 20 seconds in is a hard feat to do, and they couldn't do anything with it. How much longer was the who was it? Trent Frederick scored like a minute later or something, and then the Kucherov goal. Yeah, I mean, what a Herculean effort by Kucherov right there. A little bit of puck luck, but just lost. The goalie got lost. He was swimming out there, and Kucherov pots it in a pretty much empty net, and they come back and score right a minute later. Like, it was just, and the Lightning had their fair share of power plays. So did Boston. There was a fair share of missed calls, like that Tanner Jeannot board. The Lightning got away with a couple. I can't quite remember, but I do think it was a bit of unfair reffing, but I'm not going to make a huge deal about that. You lose 7-3, you really can't complain about the refs. It comes down to it, I don't think Vasilevsky was good enough in this game. There were at least 2 goals that he absolutely should have saved, and that's not going to save the day, but yeah, momentum. They just couldn't capitalize on it, and they couldn't defend anything against it. Boston, and credit to Boston, they played a really good game. They've been one of the best teams in the league for what's now 15 years, and they just really don't skip a beat. I think it's in that span, and they're proving every single doubter wrong, and I'm one of them. And they played a really good game, and I can, understand why they are such a good team, why they're the powerhouse of the Atlantic right now. They just send guys, and they killed us in the neutral zone. We couldn't even get out of our own zone at certain points, and they were just sending guys. As soon as the puck gets turned over onto a Bruin stick, there were 2 guys flying the zone. Typically, David Pastrnak, he really ate the Lightning alive this game, despite not having too many points. I think he only finished with a 1 goal. Just everybody really ate this team alive, but it still wasn't all that bad of a game. I think the Lightning played they were good. Good isn't going to cut it against the Boston Bruins. You have to be better, and you have to have a save from your goalie, and he really didn't help us out at all.
Yeah, I was going to say that's definitely a game that you rise to the occasion, and we've been spoiled in the past by having the world's best goalie, and we really needed him to show it in a game like this in order to keep the Lightning in it.
It was a 4-3 game going into that third period, and the third period unfortunately just did. They 4-3 game won in the third period, and they got immediately scored on early in that third period to make it 5-3, and one that people say Vasi probably should have had. It was just unfortunate. You guys put it great that they could not capitalize on any of the momentum that they had in this game. I do want to mention too, because I thought this was really interesting. Cooper was furious in this game. He was one of the angriest I think I've ever seen him. I don't think we still fully know what caused the commotion because, of course, Cooper never said anything about it. I know there was some speculation that it was another missed whistle. I heard that going around. I don't know if that's 100% true, but Cooper actually got a penalty because he was so angry, he kind of threw his hand a little bit, and it made contact with one of the referees, and those poor guys got their feelings hurt. They immediately called a penalty on them for some reason. I don't know why. But Cooper was hot in this game about something. Not 100% sure what it was. Do you guys know anything about that? I mean, that was really interesting to me that Cooper was really fired up during this one.
No, I couldn't see what it was. I mean, I didn't see what I couldn't obviously read what Cooper's saying. I mean, did come back at all in the game after he got boarded? He didn't come back at all. So, I mean, I can understand right off the go if you're going to miss a boarding call, you're going to be hot at the refs, especially because your player's not coming back down the tunnel. And
they're already playing 11-7 too in that game, so they were down.
Oh yeah,
that's that definitely makes things pretty tough. Plus, he's got two rookies on defense as well who. We didn't really talk about them too much, but considering that what they're going up against, they played, pretty well in my opinion, at least. I haven't seen him be that mad, actually, like visibly mad before, though.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, he got ejected against the Penguins. I remember that, but this one was definitely he barely grazed me. I saw what you saw, Jake. He barely touched the ref's hand. Barely touched it, and yeah, that's what got put whoever in the box, whoever was serving the penalty. That one was, I don't know. I don't like that call. I really want to know what it was about. And I saw the same thing you saw, Jake. It was a missed whistle somewhere. It was too many men or something like that. I don't even know if it was worth a penalty, but I think it was, and that's when Cooper blew his top. I can't quite remember. I don't think anybody really knows, but yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. I hope not everything is boiling over, but when you read that game on paper, when you're running 11-7, you have two rookie defensemen, one of your forwards gets injured, every call is going against you, the odds are way stacked against you. So I again, when you put this game on paper, you're losing it every single time, especially once you already know the result. You're losing it every single time. So I give credit. I mean, give credit to Cooper. I mean, he's still got a lot of life left in him. He's still very passionate about the team. I know you want to bring up some Cooper haters later, but just seeing that, you can tell he is still very invested in the team. So I always like to see, not like to see blow-ups like that, but at least he's still
passionate. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, he's definitely engaged. And if you look at the stats on this game too, the teams were pretty evenly matched. For instance, they got the same number of power plays. They got the pretty close to the same number of block shots. Boston had more hits. Face-offs were almost even. So they matched up pretty well for a lot of it statistically. So I wouldn't say that they got absolutely destroyed on paper on it, though.
Well, and there's the theme of the week, right? Every single one of these games, they were close. They played, pretty decent for the most of these games, but it was either they couldn't capitalize on their chances, they couldn't get that extra save, and that was the difference for the Lightning. And that's a big problem because, they're without Vasilevsky for the first month and a half of this season, so they already kind of started, although Johannson played very well, and in a very tight Atlantic division, they need those bounces. They need those extra saves. They need to capitalize on their chances. And none of that has been going well for them right now. So that has been the tough thing for the Lightning. They need to get these wins, and they just have not been able to. You're just hoping for something to go right. But I'll tell you what is always fresh and always looking good is our store over on shop.rblrsports.com. You can check out our awesome team-inspired merch. The Lightning, the Rays, the Bucks, the Rowdies, you name it. Go over there. Again, shop.rblrsports.com, and you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order as well. Go check it out. Links, as always, are in the description. All right. I do want to mention, let's go to the 3 stars, and then we'll go through our kind of halfway season recap. Lightning plays 41 games, so 1 game away from that halfway point. But I think we should hit the 3 stars here for the Lightning. And we'll start off with the number 3 stars, I should say, because we're not giving it to just one player, but it's the young guns who are getting the number 3 star. Carlisle Lillenberg and Thompson, all defensemen that came up and played for the Lightning. Carlisle was probably the guy that stood out the most, but all three of these guys I thought played very well. Again, for defensemen, especially young defensemen, if you're not noticeable, it's usually a good sign, and a lot of those guys were. Joe, you mentioned they played against some tough opponents as well, and they still held their own in the show, which is a very good thing for them. Guys, your thoughts on these young guns for the Lightning this week?
Well, I mean, it's obviously filling in a desperate role in some desperate games, and given that they weren't playing horribly, I think that's a huge plus for them. I was reading somewhere where, they're wondering why they were doing a rotation. And it seems like the most obvious answer might be that they kind of earned it from their play as the crunch. So it wasn't so much to necessarily get one of them prepped for full-time playing in the NHL as it is to give them all a shot at seeing what it's like to be wearing a Lightning uniform. And, that's a really cool thing to be getting that call up. I'm happy for them. I hope that we don't have to see them again due to injury anytime soon, but hopefully it helps their game out as they get a few opportunities there, and we can see them in the future as they continue to develop.
Good for them, but I hope we don't see them again. But that is the way it is. I thought Lilleberg actually played pretty well. He was a little shaky at some moments, but I definitely saw him, everywhere on the ice. He was a really smooth skater, and he was really confident with the puck. That he had a couple of bobbles and mishandles here and there, but to me, he was probably the best defenseman to slot in. Thompson, he was pretty unnoticeable for me, and like I always say, that that's a good thing, especially if you're the seventh defenseman, which I think he was playing. Couldn't tell you what his ice time was, but I did not see him out there a whole heck of a lot. But yeah, Lilleberg and Carlisle, they definitely earned these spots. It's not even just because, but they earned their spot in the lineup. Even if it is due to injury, they've done their time in the AHL. I know Lilleberg is we only signed him this last offseason, but he's a little older than the other guys. I want to say he's 22 or something, but he was definitely the one that stuck out to me the most. And, there were no bad goals against him or anything like that. That's all you can really ask for, especially at this time of the year. Just don't get cooked, don't get caught out there, and, play pretty well in your own zone and in their zone. And I thought all three of those guys did that pretty well. So very deserving of this third star.
All right, the number 2 star I'm excited for. Now, for those that don't know, I've been giving Matt such a hard time about Darren Radish because he's kind of giving him a tough time this year. That's why I've been kind of going at him a little bit. But our number 2 star for this week is none other than Darren Radish. And this might be, mostly because of the Minnesota game, but he had a huge game against the Wild, especially that second period, scoring 2 ginormous goals. And, was only a -1 this week, which, plus minuses and everything, but that I feel like says a lot in a week where a lot of guys were -4, 5s, and even 3s like there. So -1 was actually somewhat decent. I thought Darren Radish had a decent week. Matt, what'd you think about Darren Radish?
So I knew he was going to make it on the star list. So I did do my research. I did write down a whole bunch of stuff. So I'll read it off my notes. Darren Radish scored 2 goals. That's all I got.
To be fair, that's the reason why he's on the list. He scored 2 goals. He was in kind of unfortunate positions for a couple of the goals that went in against him while he was on the ice. Like there's a play that Hagel made in the game against Boston that saw Darren Radish kind of double up on a guy and left the middle of the ice open for I think that was the Kiki goal. Radish didn't cover him because he was covering someone that he thought Hagel had. So that's where that plus minus isn't always everything, sort of thing. But he got 2 goals. When's the last time you saw a defenseman get 2 goals in a game? And especially because his goals weren't scored from the point. He went down low and got them, and that's something that I was, saying since last year is his offensive upside when he gets a chance to actually showcase it is pretty high, and that was a heck of a wraparound goal for a defenseman. Are you kidding me? That was worthy of the 2nd star.
I concede that wraparound goal was a very nice goal. So I concede.
Listen, he hasn't had the season that he had when he first came up and was well, actually, when he first came up, he was kind of iffy, and then he started to get into his own. He hasn't been, at that level. He's kind of had a tough year this year for the most part, but this was a great. He scored those 2 goals, and that was huge for him. So I think he's deserving of that recognition. He did have a great game and an overall decent week. So he gets the second star this week. All right, the first star. We might as well call this, rename this stars list and just call it the Nikita Kucherov stars of the week because he once again gets the number 1 star. Nikita Kucherov, the guy was just unbelievable once again, putting up points and goals and assists. I mean, he made that one pass in that Boston game, which we didn't even mention, which was absolutely ridiculous. It was like a no-look backhand pass to Braden Point, who was trailing on the play. It is just unbelievably so impressive. A lot of people, including Brian Engblom, have been calling him the magician because that is truly what he is. It is magical watching this guy when he's out there on the ice. Joe, Nikita Kucherov.
I mean, he was everything for the Lightning against the Boston Bruins when it came to offensive output. First in the league in points. He's got Nathan MacKinnon right on his heels, 67 to 65 points. But then the next guy has only got 55. So those two are starting to really walk away from the pack. Goals, again, he's second in the league in goals next to Austin Matthews, who scored 60 just a year or two ago. He's in really good company, and the thing is he's keeping it consistent. Every game, it seems like he's got a chance to put up 3 points or more. It's been fun to watch, and yeah, we say all the time that he's comes up with some way to magically score or to come up with an assist, and he's always on the list. But that just shows you how consistent he's been. And man, it's not even a breakout. It's not even a breakout year for Kucherov. He does this. This is what the man does.
Somehow my notes on Kucherov are even shorter than my notes on Radish. It's just Nikita Kucherov, and that's it. All jokes aside, what more can this man do for us? I mean, I think I said last week, just write him a blank check whenever you can take whatever you want, Nikita. He is really single-handedly willing this team into a playoff spot. Hopefully he can keep doing that, and hopefully some of his teammates want to help him out with that. But yeah, I mean, if this team does end up making the playoffs, which I think we all hope they should do this. He is undeniably winning his second Hart Trophy. He's undeniably winning the Ted Lindsay Trophy. He can still surpass Matthews for the league leading goals, get him a rocket too. How cool would that be? I mean, this dude is doing it all, and a lot of people are comparing him to MacKinnon. But you look at the two teams, McKinnon's got a lot more help from each end of the ice. And I'm not saying the Lightning forwards are bad by any stretch, but there's a difference between Avalanche and the 24 Lightning. As much as I hate to compare the two teams, the Avalanche are a much better team right now. Nikita Kucherov is doing a lot more with a lot less. I mean, he is, even if the Lightning don't make the playoffs, I still think he wins the Hart. Like, how he's on pace to shatter that 128-point season a couple of years ago, like by a long shot. I think he's projected for like 140 points or something crazy like that.
Well, since we are exactly at the halfway point, the math is really easy. He's on pace for 134.
Okay, that was kind of close. I didn't know there would be math involved. But no, again, what more can you say? This is just the Nikita Kucherov and 2 other guys segment. I guess 4 other guys.
That's really what it's felt like because he's been that unbelievable this year. It is seriously crazy. I mean, just for the fact that Kucherov could hit 60 goals this year somehow, and like we just had Stamkos the only guy that's done it in franchise history, and Kucherov's like, oh yeah, watch me do it too while leading the league in points and being right there for assists. It is unbelievable what this guy's been able to do. And we've said it each and every week because he keeps doing it. So we're going to keep putting him on as the number 1 star if he keeps putting up these ridiculous numbers. All right, Joe, you mentioned it.
Can I audible a star real quick? Can I add a 4th star?
Go for it.
I think this needs to be mentioned. Isaac Howard. I don't think we've had things in the chat. This one just came to my mind, but so the USA, they won the World Junior Hockey Championship. congrats USA. But Isaac Howard, he really was the MVP of that gold medal game. He finished the gold medal game with 2 goals. He had a crazy shootout winner earlier against Czechia to beat them. Dude, the Iceman. I'm so stoked for this kid. He really had a breakout tournament. Hopefully the Lightning, probably not this year, but hopefully he can, make it on this team soon. I think he was tied for the lead in goals for the whole tournament.
Tied it.
Yeah. So tied with 7 goals. I don't know how many games they played. Being around a goal per game, that's something pretty good. I think we got something special on our hands. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out.
And that kid's release is ridiculous. Yeah, Eureka's on point with dropping that below us on the fly there. But his release is so good. I mean, he can shoot the puck, and when you see the way that he shoots too, it's a very deceptive shot, which typically takes a very long time to develop. And he'll definitely be making the team. He was a great draft pick.
So what was better, the shootout goal or the celly?
Oh, that was slick. I like his celly every time.
Got a lot of personality, and it's fun to watch. But hey, how about this potential future line for the Lightning? Nikita Kucherov, Isaac Howard, and Maxim Groshev. That I am so excited for. Is some bright things to look forward to for the Lightning for sure, especially in Isaac Howard. So congrats to him, Matt. You're absolutely right. Deserved a shout out. You had a great week this week. All right, halfway point for the Lightning. They're not in a playoff spot as of this current point. They're one of the only teams at the halfway point, actually, officially. I don't know how they got so far ahead of everybody else, but they did. It's been a weird year, guys. Vasilevsky out early in the season. Johannson had to step up. They've dealt with a lot of injuries we talked about at the top of the show. They've played some games where they've looked really bad in the defensive system. Some games they've looked good, but they're just not getting the breaks. It's just been an up and down crazy year that we haven't been used to over the last 5 years. I mean, the Lightning have played such great hockey. They've won back-to-back Stanley Cup, 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. This is a very different situation for the Lightning. So now that we've hit the halfway point, Joe, I'll start with you. How you feeling about this team?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not thrilled about them. I really think that this past week of 3 games is a beautiful snapshot into the way this entire season has gone. They started all 3 games with a goal, and they somehow were finding ways to lose in 2 out of those 3. They still got a couple of points here, but we always hope for more. They're able to battle back in a couple of them, but then came up short. And then when you're placed against the Boston Bruins, they had some real life into that game, and then they got puck lucked for quite a bit of what happened to them. I think the first goal against was an attempt to center the puck across the slot, came right back to the original guy's stick, and then he put it in the short side of the net as Vasi slid. I mean, how often does that happen? You can't do that if you tried. So it's been a really tough season because the Lightning have been doing a lot of things that I don't like with this new defensive system, and I think has burned them. But at the same rate, the hockey gods seem to be shouting down from the heavens, saying, "You got your 2 cups. Now take a couple of times of bad luck here, because no matter what they do, they just are having a tough time being consistent in any aspect of the game." Except for Nikita Kucherov.
You had to throw that one in there. I'm kind of waiting. I'm hoping that this season is the inverse of last season, because we all remember the Lightning, they were doing pretty good, and they finished the season in a divisional spot. Had a pretty rough playoffs. So they played well in the playoffs. But what I'm hoping this season is after the All-Star break, they really start to pick it up. Because I think we all still remember, I definitely do like it was yesterday, that 7-1 drubbing that the Panthers laid against us, the first game after the All-Star break, and then everything after that, it was kind of like what we're seeing right now. You win 1, you lose 1, you win 1, you lose 1, you win 2, you lose 2. I hope that it's the complete inverse of last year, because again, the wheels just started falling off that first game after the All-Star break, and we really didn't right the ship even in the playoffs. I do think we were the better team in the playoffs. We should have won those playoffs, that round. But all I'm hoping for is that they definitely, that they can right the ship, because there is way too much talent on this team. You've got the best goaltender in the world. I'll still stand by that. You've got one of the best defensemen in the world, even though he's falling out of favor. You've got the best forward in the world statistically right now. These things should add up. And I know that it is an 18-man roster. I know that you have to have skaters and defensemen and goalies aside from all those good players. Hopefully that this team can really start to gel together. Hopefully we can stay away from the injury bug. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing right now is injuries are starting to pile up, and it does not get any easier, especially when it comes to crunch time towards the end of the season. I don't know. I guess this really is me rambling, just saying I know that they can. I hope that they can unlock that same kind of magic that they've had for the last 6 years, or else this season is starting to look like that 2016-17 season where every soul was injured. Stamkos, Palat, everybody was injured, and you missed the playoffs by 1 point. The worst place to be is in the middle. That's what Minnesota has been for pretty much their entire tenure in the National Hockey League. They've just been in the middle. I hope that's not what the Lightning end up. If you're outside looking in, missing the playoffs by 1 or 2 points, especially if you let guys like Detroit or New Jersey try to leapfrog you, it's going to be a tough look. So I hope they can unlock it. I believe they can. So it just might need to be some kind of culture change. Who knows if we're going to make a deal at the deadline, especially if we're out of a playoff spot by that point. How many times am I going to say it? Hope they can unlock that same kind of passion and battle level.
The worst part, Matt, is for the teams that got our first round picks after we traded them all away. They're getting the middle of the pack first round picks, so that's the worst for them. But honestly, go ahead, Joe.
When you look at the way that we've done last year and the year before, right now the Lightning have 43 points and a goal differential of -9. Last year, in a year that we were saying that wasn't playing great, well, I guess that was really after the break, but at this point they had 55 points and were a +27. The year before that, where they won a cup, they had 59 points and were only a +24. 59 points versus 43. It's a big number that's 8 wins more that they had in the cup winning year. And the major change that we're seeing is that we got rid of players that were in our bottom 6 that weren't really contributing as much as we had hoped for. We replaced them with players that I feel right now aren't offensively putting a lot of points up, but also defensively, for the most part, they are a little bit harder to play against. But overall, the system was changed completely for the Lightning's defensive scheme, and they had a +24 last season halfway through it. I don't understand why we have the system that we do, and it hasn't been working up to this point very well, and then where the team is going. So that is the scary part for me, is where do you go from here when you've got, to use a reference to your shirt, Matt, you got a boat that's taken on water. It's not sunk yet. I mean, the team is not out of the realm of hope of making the playoffs by any means. They just need to get real streaky real fast here and get some wins put together. But at the same rate, this doesn't seem to be working on the defensive side. Offensively, so defensively, the team is second worst goals against. Offensively, it's like if it wasn't for the past, I'd say, week and a half, we were like a top 3 offensive team, and now I think it dropped down to top 6. So it's not that side of the puck; it's the defending side.
So a couple of things, right? You guys are absolutely right. It's been such a weird year. Are the Lightning out of it? Absolutely not. Is it going to be tough to get back in it? Yes, because this is a very tight Atlantic division this year. But with that said, I absolutely still believe this team can make the postseason and get on a good run. I don't have my sweatshirt on, but I have a Lightning sweatshirt that says optimist, because that's truly what I am a lot of the times. I'm a very big optimist, diehard Lightning fan. Maybe I am a little biased. It's been unfortunate for the Lightning. They've had a lot of tough times. But when you look at, a guy like John Cooper, listen, the guy's got 499 career wins. only 28 other coaches have 500 wins. And I know people get frustrated with Cooper because he doesn't say much on what's going on with the defense, or he doesn't talk about, exactly what some of the issues were with the team. And he's not, but a guy like him who's got 499 career wins is addressing those kinds of things. There's no reason to not have faith in this team anymore. We've seen them do it. We've seen them do it this year where they've played particularly well and won some of these big games. It hasn't been happening a lot for them right now, which is the tough part. And then also, I know Andre Vasilevsky has not had his typical season, but again, the expectations for Vasilevsky are so high. And again, I think people forget this guy just had a major surgery in the offseason. How many other guys are out there having that major surgery and then playing a Vezina caliber season like he so often does? This team has had a rough time this year. It's been tough. The defensive system isn't great. We don't know what's going on because we can't see behind closed doors, but this team has a lot of great playmakers, as you mentioned, Matt. They've got a lot of great coaches they got a fantastic coach on this team, and they're still right in the thick of this right now. And I truly believe they can get back into it no problem in the second half of the season. Joe, you said it, though. They're going to need to start winning games no matter what. Even if they are playing well, they can't still, they played well, but they lost the game. They've got to find ways to win, which maybe it is just a little bit of puck luck, but that's just the season it's been for the Bulls. And it's uncharted territory for a lot of especially new fans that have come into this, but even for the Lightning in general, some of these players who have not been on the team for a long time. And it's a different kind of situation, but they're not out of it. They can still get back in this, and I have full faith in teams and the players that we have and the coaches we have that they can absolutely do that.
Yeah, and for the next half of the season, there are a few players that definitely I would love to see them up their game. One, just straight up looking at the stats, he's been playing decently, but I think it'd be a lot better is Nick Paul. He's got 11 goals, but a lot of those are on the power play. So 6 of those are on the power play. And half of his points have been on the power play. When it comes to 5-on-5, he's got 5 on the season, and he's a -16. So I want to see him up his gameplay and play a little bit better in the second half of the season. And honestly, the same thing can be said for, even though he's a great player, I still want to see Braden Point show up like he did last season. And he put up 50. Or what, he put up 40, and
50.
It was 50. All right, put up 50,
yeah.
And right now
51.
He put up 51. All right, so right now he is on pace for 40 goals almost. He's got 19 on the season, but he just doesn't seem to be controlling play as much as he has in the past. A lot of them is just Kucherov doing Kucherov things, and being the beneficiary. Where I felt like last game he was pushing defenses way, way, way back as he was making his zone entries. And this season, we're not seeing that as much. He's more just being fortuitous in the spots that he's picking, and Cooch is finding them.
I'm glad you brought him up because he's somebody who it takes a lot for me to say a bad thing about Braden Point. It takes a lot for me to say a bad thing about anybody on this team except Aaron Radish. But Braden Point, he's somebody that from the eye test, it seems like the same effort level we have seen since he has come onto the team just kind of isn't really there. It seems like, I don't even know how to put it, but he looks a little off. The speed isn't there. The like you said, Joe, controlling the game, beating a lot of these defenders. I mean, that is his bread and butter, is beating defenders wider on the inside. His speed, his shot, a lot of that isn't there. He seems to be kind of like roving around. Doesn't really stick, and that's only a small section of the time because he still has nearly 20 goals on the season. He's on pace for 40-ish. Hopefully, he can bring it up a little bit. But I would like to see a little bit more from him. He was one of those guys I was kind of talking about. Hopefully, when I said earlier, hopefully Kucherov can lift some of his teammates up to play on that same level as him. He's one of those guys, and it's not like I hope we can do that. It's necessary if we want to be an elite team again. If we want to, maintain that title as one of the best teams in the league. Braden Point's one of those guys that has to step up and has to be a factor
and see him use that speed to
almost if not every game
too, and be somebody that disrupts the other team with their offense.
Exactly that. And it's just something is different. I don't know if he's battling something, but it just doesn't seem like he's turning on the same jets that he used to. He's one of the, if not the fastest player in the league, and he's still leading some of the stats, the NHL edge stats. Like he's got some of the most bursts over 22 miles an hour, whatever those stats are. He's still leading in a lot of that, but I put a lot of stock in the eye test, and a lot of that isn't there for me.
The funny thing is, is he is actually still second in the team 100 points. It's crazy, but you're right. I mean, when stats aren't everything, you can't just look at a guy's points and get a good idea of how they've been playing overall. But points definitely, it's felt like a different year for him, especially after the fantastic season that he had. Brandon Hagel's another guy for me. You guys know how big I am on Brandon Hagel. He's hit a major slump recently. He did get an empty net goal this week, but he has been in a weird slump, and he was one of the big guys that stepped up for the Bolts in the top 6, right? That was one of the spots where the Lightning kind of, losing guys like Alex Killorn, that was one of their big top 6 guys. And Brendan Hagel was able to fill that very, very, very nicely when they lost guys like Killorn and Palat. And he's kind of struggled a little bit in this these last couple of weeks. So hopefully he can get another run. But I don't know about you guys, but for me, listen, at the end of the day, just make the postseason, right? If they can make the postseason, you throw a lot of this to the wayside and not really worry about this season being a quote unquote failure. Because listen, look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won the division this year. They got to the dance, and that's one of the most common saying in sports, right? If you get a ticket to the dance, you never know what can happen, and anybody can get hot. If the Lightning can do that, that's still their goal is to make the playoffs and go for a Stanley Cup each and every year right now. So the goal, make the playoffs.
I think expectations play a huge role into it as well. Like a lot of people were expecting the Bucks to be kind of a bottom feeder, even hard faith they had in their own team. I don't know how much I had at the start of the season, but expectations and results, equal your grade. And I think Bucks fans are really happy right now, but I think the Lightning have much higher expectations. So, squeaking into the playoffs would be nice, but at the start of the season, I don't think we were really saying, let's just squeak in. Let's get that wild card spot.
No, that wasn't the expectation, but that's where they're at right now. And at the end of the day, I think that's still okay.
And I'll call myself
it is okay.
out too, because when we were predicting the way this season would go, I think I got it completely wrong, guys. I thought that too. Getting rid of the bottom 6 that we had, bringing in the new players that we were bringing in would make it so that we were scoring a lot more goals. It's made it so that there's not more goals being scored, but there are fewer goals being scored against with those guys. I thought that our problems would be with goaltending, having Johannson come in, and I was just praying that we'd be 500 come late December because I didn't think he'd be able to play that well. JoJo played excellent. He did everything that he could to take care of his part of the ice. And then I thought that offensively we would struggle a little bit, but defensively we'd actually be playing pretty well. And it's been the complete opposite of that as well. We putting the pucks in the back of the net, but aren't defending worth anything. So expectations aside, evaluating things before the season, I definitely got all of those wrong. And it just goes to show you it can be difficult to predict exactly the way a season's going to go. And maybe that also can translate into what they thought would happen, changing the defensive scheme, and with the way that they thought the Lightning would play, moving to a different system.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. I would love to go back to our first episode and see our predictions. I'm pretty sure I was sitting there going, those people saying the Lightning are going to miss the playoffs. No way. We're going to be right up there with those. Well, it's been a weird year, and they're sitting in a dangerous spot right now. But you're absolutely right. It's been a crazy year for the Lightning. Hopefully, after this halfway point, though, and on after the All-Star break, the Lightning can get things going the right way. And speaking of that, let's take a look at what's coming up for the Lightning. By the way, we should mention this too. We've mentioned the All-Star break a couple of times. All-Star voting is now open for fans right now. So you can go out there, you can go on the NHL website, you can do it through Twitter. There's a bunch of different ways. It's actually kind of confusing, I'm not going to lie. But the easiest way to do is just going on the NHL website. You can pick basically anybody you want. I believe it's 8 skaters and 4 goaltenders. Me personally, I went through and just picked every single Lightning player that I could and voted that way because I'm a diehard Lightning fan. But you go out there and vote for whoever you want. Nikita Kucherov is already in the All-Star game, so congratulations to him on making it to the All-Star game. But let's get Braden Point in there so he can finally reclaim his title or another shot at a title for the fastest skater. I think that's the big one. Guys, any other guys that you're really shooting for an All-Star appearance for the Lightning?
I was gonna ask this question, do you guys think anybody other than Kucherov deserves to be at that game?
Point has had a decent year points wise, and I would love to see him just in the fastest skater competition. So honestly, I'd probably go with Point.
I think he's kind of say deserves it, and even again, like I was saying a couple of minutes ago, he's having a down season by his standards too. So I'd vote for him though.
I mean, I'm going to vote for our guys either way. Somebody that I think really deserves to be in. I mean, you got him with Cooch being in.
Right.
What if there was a face-off competition? I'd vote Luke Glendening.
Hey, you can go and vote for him. I think he's actually one of the guys that is. I've been going through just picking all the guys in the points. So I think he's one of the guys that are on my ballot. But either way, go and vote for some of our guys that you think deserve to be in. And we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as well on your mid-season reports and what you're thinking. Let us know in the comments below on this channel at RBLR Lightning, at RBLR Sports. But looking ahead, guys, the Lightning have a home stand. The good news for them is they're back home right now. And the first game is against the Los Angeles Kings at 7 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday, January 9th. And they'll be taking on the New Jersey Devils on Thursday, January 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then it's the Anaheim Ducks on Saturday, January 13th, again at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then they have that long 4-day break. So Lightning, big homestand for them. I think we've kind of said it a couple of times. Just win these games. What are you guys looking for this week, Joe? I'll start with you.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm still kind of chuckling over here at the thought of a face-off all-star competition and just how ridiculous something like that would be. But all right, so looking at what we got ahead, was that?
I think it'd be pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be down for that.
Looking at what we have ahead, we've got another pretty stingy team with the LA Kings. They actually have the fewest goals allowed in the entire league. This is one of the ones that the Lightning, if they're going to win, they really have to keep it out of their own net. Basically, if you score 3 goals, then you've done something that the majority of the teams in the NHL haven't been able to do this season. So they got to play it really tight. That'll be a tough one for them. Actually, the Devils game I'm going to with a buddy, so I always look forward to watching a game like that because he is a huge Devils fan. It'd be nice to do some ribbing on that one to see who gets the better of a bet for those. So those are the ones I'm really looking forward to see if the Lightning can start to get some more consistency turned around. Same stuff I say every week, guys.
Do you want to know what I'm looking for in this LA Kings game? New third jerseys. That's what I'm looking for. Bringing it back full circle. I'll actually be at that game, and I'll also be at the Devils game if you want to meet up, Joe.
Cool.
And who was the third?
It's the Ducks.
The Ducks. Okay. Oh God, we should win that one. I hope. No, I mean we've. This is definitely an important week. I mean, the LA Kings, it's going to be difficult to beat them. They're kind of on a roll right now. They did just blow a 3-goal lead to Washington in their last game. I wouldn't expect that to happen again. So hopefully, Lightning come back at home and play a nice, strong game. This New Jersey game is way more important than it seems. It's kind of like that Washington game a couple of weeks ago. These are guys that are also fighting for that wild card spot. New Jersey hasn't had a great season. Their goaltending has really let them down, but boy, can they score goals. So Vasilevsky is going to need to step up in this game. And, like I said a couple weeks ago when we were going through it, had a easy schedule. You got no reason to lose to Anaheim, especially at home. You've got no reason to lose to Anaheim.
It's going to be emotional, though.
Oh, that's right.
Player tribute.
Oh no, the Alex Killorn. Oh God, I forgot about that. So
Alex Moore making his return.
It's definitely a big week, and I know I've told this on the podcast before, but every ticket I've been gifted, both of these were gifted tickets. At least in the last calendar year, we have lost. So hopefully 2024 is a different year for Matt attending Lightning games. Jake, we need to get you more Lightning games. I think you're undefeated this season. So
I am. Maybe it's my fault the Lightning are losing. I need to get to more games.
Okay, we can pin it on you and not me. So again, very, very important, very big week for the Lightning. You got some playoff implications and some West Coast teams and some waterworks, I'm sure, coming in that third game.
Let's see. It's 82 divided by 39 games played, which is 210. That's how many Killorn is credited with, and he's got 4 goals, so he's on pace for 8 goals this season. What a contract! That's like $1 million per goal or something along those lines.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah, he's like 6.25 or something for 4 years. I love Killer, but glad we don't have that deal.
Hopefully he doesn't take after all his other former Lightning players. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm not even going to say it. All right, that's going to do it for us in this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. And follow us at RBLR Lightning and at RBLR Sports so you can keep up with everything going on in Tampa Bay because we're getting back to it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.